Welcome to the Hey Docs podcast with your host, Jill Allen. Today we have a special guest, Tony Peniche from Peniche Associates, joining us on the show. Tony is an expert in marketing and has a particular grasp on the millennial generation. From being brave enough to run with an idea to honing in on your target market, we will cover it all. Let's get started. Hey Docs, let's talk about Smile Suite because it's not just another scheduling system. It's a game changer in the world of new patient management. And as a proud Smile Suite partner, I've witnessed the incredible impact it has on practices of all sizes. Smile Suite means your new patient calls and web leads are expertly handled 7 days a week, even during nights and weekends. And they offer top-notch customizable presentation software and seamless post-consultation follow-up. It's like having a secret weapon for your practice's success. Curious? Dive into the revolution at getsmilesuite.com. And don't forget to mention Hey Docs to unlock some extra goodies. Elevate your practice with Smile Suite because every smile deserves a suite of excellence. Tony, I am so excited to have you on Hey Docs today. Thank you so much for being a part of this.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So in the event that somebody does not know who you are, would you mind talking to us a little bit about how you got into the industry and what you are doing?
Yeah, my name is Tony Peniche from Peniche Associates. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer, and I specialize in marketing and branding consulting for orthodontists all over the country. My background is basically serial entrepreneur. So I built and sold a bunch of different companies. Basically got the bug from my mom, filed for my first inventions and patents when I was 16. And then after that, just started building and selling companies all over the place. And I was a fashion designer for a long time, photographer. I ran an incubator where we had about 65 small businesses under our roof. We did a whiskey technology company, invented some technologies there. I don't know, all over the place. And then about 5 years ago, Smile Direct Club apparently was disrupting things. And so Leanne asked me to come in for 6 months and help out and get clients on board with more progressive marketing and branding. So it's supposed to be 6 months. And about 8 weeks in, I was like, this is not what I thought it was. Like my whole life, I didn't realize what mom was doing. And once I finally understood it, I fell in love with it because as a serial entrepreneur, I like something new and challenging and thrilling. And so now it's every week I'm in a different city, in a different office. And for me, even though it might be a practice that's been there for 15 years, it's brand new to me. And so it feels like a startup each time. And every week I get to basically work on a new project, solve problems, come up with really creative marketing solutions and branding opportunities. And then the next week, do it all over again. And so it's really creatively, it's super stimulating and I really enjoy it.
I love that. And I just so appreciate that as you have stepped into this space, you have really brought thoughts and ideas from outside of our industry into our industry and are really infusing that into practices out there. And as you and I both know, working with not only younger doctors, but existing as well, but it is nowadays all about your marketing strategy and how you're going to get in front of your potential clients. And it isn't just one demographic anymore. And so I'm curious, I'd love to have you kind of explore this a little bit with me and talk about what your vision was as you were creating the marketing strategies that you were going to be bringing in and bringing with you into our industry, and how you've been able to marriage maybe what other companies are doing outside of ortho and how some of those strategies can work within orthodontics.
Yeah, you basically take every office case by case and every brand case by case.
Yes.
And so there's no formula, there's no one size fits all for sure.
Right.
And if I see that they're really just not connecting with their audience, like they're trying to rubber stamp their marketing strategy because it worked for the doctor down the street or across the country, and they saw it in maybe some Facebook group that the strategy really worked for this other doctor, and now they're trying to do it. I try to pull them away from that and figure out like who actually is your audience, what are their actual interests. A simple example would be offices will have a contest and the prize for some reason is always Apple AirPods. It's always the prize. I don't know why. Because they saw somebody else do it, and they think that, oh, that's the prize. Everybody's going to want that. And I'm like, did you even talk to the patients? Did you talk to the community? Is that really what they want? A good example of that would be in New York. We have a client that is in Manhattan on Park Avenue. And so their fees are extraordinarily high. Their clientele is very well off. And a physical prize like AirPods or even a laptop or like a new iPhone, they already have all of those things. They don't need anything like that. So what they're interested in is that demographic. What they're interested in is memorable experiences. So like backstage passes to like a Taylor Swift concert, that'll get their attention, or a weekend getaway to Puerto Rico, that'll get their attention. But physical prizes won't. And yeah, you really just need to talk to your patients, talk to the community, and figure out what do they actually want, and then apply it accordingly. And so something that might have worked really well within robotics, like high-speed robotics, there's some unique strategies there that I can pull from. Or with Jimmy Hickey, he owns Finlay hats. And on Instagram, I think they have like probably close to 100,000 followers on there, but highly engaged. So it's like the equivalent of having like 1 million followers because they're all so highly engaged. And what they do is they have collectible hats. So every week they put out these new hats that are really cool, and their customers are just super fans. And some of their customers have like over 100 of their hats. It's like, how do you do that? How do you create something that is actually a collectible? Everybody wants to be the next Beanie Baby and have something that's collectible and limited edition. But how do you really create that value and create that image where people actually want it and see the value in it? So I've studied his audience and his strategies and the way he engages. And then I can apply some of that to our clients whenever needed. But then my friends are in so many different industries. Some of them are in cinematography. Chris, who I haven't seen in a couple of years, he and I have been connecting over the last couple of months because he directed the pilot for the Pacific Northwest Survival Games that we just did. And he just got back from Africa. They just shot a whole series of documentaries on big game animals and their migrations. And so some of the stuff that they're doing with those documentaries and the filming techniques, I find that to be really fascinating. And I'm looking for opportunities to apply that to some of our clients now.
Oh, that is so cool. And again, it's so wonderful that you've got all of these contacts and can take those and just be able to apply it and be like, oh, I really love the engagement that they're getting here. How can we do that within our industry? And how do we get people to engage? Because we both know it's not on, oh, let's do another D-band photo. Oh, let's do another same pose, different patient, and think that we're going to just get all of these followers. And then on top of it, what do followers mean? What can we extrapolate out of whatever our goal is in our marketing? So I'm curious if you had some suggestions, and we've got a lot of younger doctors that are listening to the podcast here. And let's say they're getting started and they're saying, yeah, I don't know if I can afford to pay somebody to help me with this. Do you have thoughts, ideas, strategies out there on how docs might engage other marketing ideas and implement into their own practice?
I would say one of the biggest pieces of advice, or a couple of them, is don't let a third party manage your social media strategy and the core of the content. You can hire a company like SmartComms. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. SmartComms is fantastic. It's only $99 a month. They'll do 3 custom designs a week for you. So 3 pieces of content or 12 a month for $99, which is unbelievable because we normally would pay like $120 to $150 for 1 piece of content. And they're doing 12 of those a month. And it's your colors, your logos. You tell them what you want. And again, it's all 100% custom. But you get to tell them, like, here's the quote, or here's the image, or here's the story, and then they'll create it, versus a company where it's like rubber stamped, like they're creating content. It's the same content that goes out to 100 other doctors, except now it's like in your color and your logo on it. But really, it's a rubber stamp piece of content. And there's no authenticity behind things like that. And the average viewer on social media, they're all basically experts because they're on their phones all day long looking at thousands of bits of content. They can tell what's authentic and what's basically spam. And you need to avoid that. So don't let somebody else manage the content. They can do the content creation, but you need to decide what the content actually is or what the message is and stay true to yourself. The other bit of advice would be, and I've been pushing this for years now, and it can be a little tricky, but it works. Turn your patients into your marketeers. Let their voice be your voice. And you can't tell them to do it. You just sound cheesy and needy when you ask them to do it. But you can set up situations where now they naturally want to talk about you. And oftentimes it actually comes down to them talking about themselves. And so if you're doing a D-band video, you can post it on your social media all you want. It's only going to do so much. If you can get them to post it on their social media and tag you, that is valuable. And so how do you create that content? How do you get it onto their phone? Obviously, the biggest thing I'm always saying is after you do a D-band video, immediately airdrop that to the patient, airdrop that to the parent. And then in a backwards way of telling them to post it, you say, if you decide to post that, make sure you tag us. So get it off your phone, get it to them right away. Don't worry so much about posting it yourself. You need them to post it. But if you don't give them the content, then they don't really have an opportunity.
Yeah. And that's such sage advice. That is patients, parents, they're going to react within the moment. And I love what you're saying about airdrop it to them. I'm always telling my practices, and I'm sure you guys are too, like you need to have a phone that is ready to go in your practice for content. There, you should have that office content phone that you're snapping pictures. And like you said, you can just immediately, here, what's your phone number? Let me just send this to you. I love that. And
actually, I'll take it one step further, actually.
Yeah.
So with that is not only do we have all of our clients, they need to have at least one, if not multiple iPhones in the office, because the majority of the market has iPhones. So it makes sense to use that. But also I tell them to use the app Facetune and the app Rimini. So Rimini is an AI photo enhancer. So if you take a bad photo with bad lighting, it'll just naturally enhance it. And then from there or if you have a good photo, you can just use Facetune. And so after you do like a D-band, the D-band reveal video or like a personality photo at the D-band, run it through Facetune really quick, hit enhance, not full power because then it looks like Barbie, but maybe 20 or 30% power. And that's just going to remove the bags under the eyes, whiten the teeth, and remove obvious pimples. And it's really fast. And so you just run it through there, export it, and then give it to them, like airdrop that photo to them so that way they can post it. And they don't realize that they were semi-Photoshop, but all they know is that I look great. And I want to show everybody the results of this 1.5 year investment, this new smile that we've created. And I look great in this photo. So yeah, that's the photo you want to give them right away so they can celebrate.
What a great pearl. That is wonderful. Tell me the names of the companies again. Just say that one more time.
Yeah, the apps are called Facetune and the photo enhancer is called Rimini.
Okay. Great. Thank you. I know a lot of people just did a little rewind and took down that. That was a great pearl. So you and I both know that kind of the hot word in our industry right now is millennial sales, millennial marketing. And I would love for you to talk about that a little bit, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are because I don't think our marketing is just to millennials. Yes, that's the hot word right now, and everybody wants to just put everything into that box. But can you talk a little bit about, we can say millennial marketing, but really what our mindset needs to be? Because I'm going to bet we're both going to agree that it isn't just that demographic that's in our practice anymore.
Yeah, it's a unique situation as far as the market goes right now because a lot of kids now are actually being raised by their grandparents. And then when it comes to millennials and finances, it's mixed in with their parents because millennials have been like kicked in the teeth as far as like being able to have enough money to buy a house. And there was the financial crash in 2008. And then we had Occupy Wall Street. And then we had COVID and all these things. And then also college degrees aren't as valuable as they used to be anymore. So people are just walking around with this debt that they can't pay off. So a couple parts of this is the millennial parent is still going to make the final decision of whether or not they're going to have their child receive treatment from you. But there's a good chunk of the market where, yeah, they made that decision, but the money's actually coming from the parents of the millennial. So you need to keep that, you need to have that taken into consideration as well. Yeah, when you're going after the millennial parent, they grew up with the internet, they grew up with social media. And so again, your content needs to speak to them, not speak generally but to your specific audience within a 5 to 10 mile radius of your office. What are the people in that area? What are the millennials in that area? What are they attracted to? Another element is like Forbes magazine put out an article talking about the fact that the average American right now sees between 4,000 and 10,000 ads every single day. And you don't even realize it. If you just walk around your office or even your house right now, you'll probably see several hundred logos, like just on a light bulb or like on a switch or on a box. And you don't even realize, but that's marketing. That's branding. That's right in your face. And we all just ignore it. We just filter it out. We're just numb to it. So when you put something out, it can't just have your logo on it. It needs to be appealing to that target demographic. It needs to reflect their interest, or they need to somehow see themselves within that piece of content. And then it'll cut through the noise, and now they'll actually pay attention and see what it is that you're offering or putting out there.
Yeah. So what do you think is going to change, or you may or may not be able to speak on this? I look at it and I'm like, okay, we could technically have boomers to Gen Xers to millennials to Gen Zs, and then into our early OBS program could maybe even be alphas. But when you're looking into the future and saying, okay, this is what you do, are you seeing that we're going to have practices that are like, when we say demographics, we really are talking about the different demographics that are coming into the practice and who's around. But are you thinking that there will be some changes where we aren't just saying, I'm just going after, I think for so many years it was like, we're just going after that bread and butter, the 8 to 16-year-olds. And now we know there's a big market with adults. If you're a big practice into airway, you could even be targeting. Are you adjusting or advising that clients think about that, and also the psychographic component of it, the buying strategies of some of that? Or is that almost like too deep, do you think?
No, I think that you need to have multiple offerings for the different markets. Obviously, you still have your traditional cases and that traditional age group, which I think most orthodontists prefer. Most orthodontists don't really want to work with an adult patient because adults are whiny and have more anxiety. And adult patients apparently are a pain in the butt compared to a child. Kids are tougher and easier to work with. But yeah, I guess the other thing is Smile Direct Club and Candid and all these braces in a box companies. Mm-hmm. They really opened up everyone's eyes that there is a bigger market now. And there are a lot of adults out there that want treatment, but they want it fast. They want it efficient. They don't really want full treatment. A lot of times they don't mind having compromised treatment. But we do recommend that most of our clients go ahead and offer a Selfie Smile package or Social 6 package, which is usually about 40% less. So if your average case is $5,000, then offer something that is maybe $3,200, and it's just the Social 6, and they have to also sign a waiver saying that they understand this is compromised treatment. It might mess up your bite, things like that. And that's how you target the adults and these other markets as well, because they do care about their smile, but they think that they can't afford it, that $5,000, $6,000 price point. And also the length of time is maybe intimidating to them, going through 18 to 24 months of treatment. They want something in 9 months. So lower price point, quicker treatment, more digestible. And then the other thing is really take into considering the monthly payments. That's probably the biggest change right now, is the monthly payments. It's hard to explain it without underselling it. Like, it's a really big deal. Like, you need to understand that even if you go to Amazon right now, here's a good example. If you go to Amazon and you look up anything that costs over $100 right away, like it doesn't just say pay now for the $100. Right below it, it actually says, or do 5 easy payments of $20. This whole afterpay concept has really influenced our society and the way we finance things now. And extending people out, especially the adults, extending them out past treatment time, it's a really important that you have that option.
We all know running and growing an orthodontic practice isn't easy, and technology is supposed to help you, but oftentimes your practice management software doesn't. Some of them are even clunky and need lots of third-party add-ons. That's why I recommend Greyfinch to my startup and existing clients, because Greyfinch is different. Grayfinch is an all-in-one web-based platform that saves you time and boosts your client base, productivity, and bottom line, with no downloads or third-party software needed. It even has tools you can't find anywhere else, like televisits, two-way email and text messaging, a patient self-service hub, and much more. Want to see how it can grow your practice? Visit grayfinch.com/Jill Allen and see why countless leading practices have made the switch. By now, we all know I talk to a lot of doctors and give advice to practices in every stage of their life cycle. And one question my docs ask all the time is, who do you recommend for marketing to attract more new patients from the internet? My answer? Easy. I have been recommending Mary Kay Miller and her team at Kaleidoscope for the better part of a decade. Why? They are thorough, professional, and transparent. Kaleidoscope Digital Marketing is who you want to talk to because they understand how to market in the orthodontic world, and they offer tools that are affordable and easy to use. I'm telling you, if you're looking to step up your digital presence, Kaleidoscope should be your first call. Go to contactkl.com to request your free digital marketing consultation. That's contactkl.com. Right. And I think transparency is a big one right now, too. Just trying to meet the patient where they're at and market to the hot buttons that are making people say yes or want to come into the practice. I think you're right on. And I think we're always going to be tweaking it. We're always going to be adjusting. What do our consumers want to hear? What do they need to see in order to make a commitment to move forward? Even just with, I'm going to jump onto this chat bot and try and schedule an appointment or whatever it is. I'm going to switch gears just a little bit here and talk to you about, if we've got a doc that's listening and they're like, this sounds great, but it sounds a little bit scary. I wouldn't even know where to start or how to do it. And I don't know this. I don't even like Facebook. I don't even like Instagram. I'm not a dancing doctor. Any of those things that I'm sure you've heard, I've heard. How do you go about being a chief marketing officer and you're dealing with your clients, and how do you get docs to get out of their comfort zone a little bit and move in this direction that you and I both know is so important right now for practices and getting patients in the door?
I don't know if everyone's going to agree with this. I don't take the same approach as I think a lot of people think that they're supposed to right now. If you don't feel comfortable on camera and doing social media content, don't do it. Don't waste your time. If it's not going to come across as authentic and sincere and genuine, don't. You don't have to. Like, if other doctors want to dance around and make silly videos and entertain their audience, that's on them. That's totally fine. That's authentic to them. You need to be authentic to yourself because the audience knows the difference, and it's just not going to go well. So don't waste your time there. Put that same amount of energy. Let's say these other doctors are committing like 3 hours a week to create social media content, entertain their audience. Take that same 3 hours and focus that then on building relationships with the dentists in the area. Commit it somewhere else. Don't just not put in any effort. You still need to put in effort, but you can commit those hours and that energy in another area and still get really good results. And as we know, like, case acceptance on patients that you're getting from social media is statistically lower. I'm not going to say, I don't know how much lower. It all depends on the market and it depends on how they found you and all that. But overall, it is lower. And so you can take the same amount of energy, same amount of time, put that into building relationships with dentists or getting more referrals out of your existing patients and parents and have a higher case acceptance. Yeah. If you don't want to dance and do the silly TikToks, don't.
I love that.
Still have a presence, but online, but don't do it unless it's going to be authentic.
Yeah. And that's so true. And I echo that as well. The message you're getting across is what we have to be is authentic. And consumers now, they know if you're trying to be the dancing doctor or the whatever, do what's true to you, because that authenticity is really going to be what brings people in. And not everybody's going to connect with everybody, and that's okay. But you sure don't want to be trying to do one thing that doesn't even match your brand or match your culture just because, oh, the guy down the street or the gal down the street is doing it. And so therefore I heard I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And another piece, just so I don't leave it empty. So what should you be posting? If you're not going to be dancing and entertaining your audience, then what should you be posting? I would say for a little while, maybe 6 months or a year, try not to focus on entertaining your audience. Don't put entertainment content out there. Focus on building your audience, which means focusing on people who have never seen your Instagram account before, and they're looking at it for the very first time. Do they see their own community? Are you like every 10 photos or so, there should be a landscape photo or an iconic location from your area. Like maybe it's like a really famous landmark or statue, or maybe it's the skyline, or maybe it's a restaurant or something. And that's really well known. Post that. If you're in the Pacific Northwest, like I am, maybe have some photos of people hiking and smiling. Take some of your Invisalign, put it next to the water bottle on a tree stump and get that close-up photo. But in the background, out of focus, you can see like a waterfall or a mountain or something like that. So that way, the audience in your area, you're tapping into their interests. They like hiking. They like going to this restaurant. They know that building down the street. And so when they see your profile for the very first time, you've only got a couple of seconds to hold their attention. They go, oh, this is in my backyard. This is relatable to my interests. And then also the photos of the people that you're posting, they're my age. They're in my age range. They're part of my demographic, my tribe. And so make it more about them. Let them see themselves, see their community, see their interest in your profile, and focus on that. Focus on first impressions and trying to gain and build followers after they see you for the very first time, and less content about trying to entertain people and make them laugh. And let's be real honest and really blunt for a second. The people that you're entertaining, odds are you already have their credit card. They're already your patient.
That is so true.
Why are you putting all this energy into entertaining somebody when you already have their money? So you need to be focusing on people that have never seen you before.
Yeah. And oh gosh, you're just so right on. And I'm so glad you said that, because that is like the real cold, hard truth right there. That just sparked a question in me. And I think, do you have strategies or thoughts on if a doctor's, wow, Tony, that total light bulb just went off with me. Like it just hasn't connected before. That totally makes sense. But how do I get outside of my own feeds? And I know you talked a little bit to it, trying to get patients to share stories and tag you. Are there any other some tricks you might have for us out there in trying to expand that following or that market out there?
Yeah, I would say any games that you do in the office, like most offices have some sort of like silly game, like right when you walk in and you check in, usually the person at the front desk is going to say, oh, by the way, we have this little game going on. Guess how many beads are in this jar, right? Or vote for your favorite pumpkin that we had all the dentists in the area carve. Which one's your favorite? Traditionally, everybody is always filling out paper ballots and putting it in a jar, and then there'll be a raffle later. What I say is all those games, hide those paper ballots. You're not getting any marketing out of that. You're just entertaining your patients. And again, you already have their credit card. So how you turn them into your marketeers, take a photo of that jar with the beads in it, or take a photo of the pumpkins, post it on Instagram. And then on Instagram, when you go to share, it's a new feature. You can actually export a QR code from that post. And when you scan the QR code, it'll take you direct to that post on social media. So now moving forward, you have the jar, and you have a printout of the QR code, and you say, guess how many are in there? Be entered into the raffle. They scan it, and then they do all the participation and all the guessing in the comment section of that post. And then also remind them, we're going to announce the winner on social media later, so don't forget to follow us so you find out if you won or not. And so all games, all contests, all raffles have everything funneled through the comment section on social media. And that, again, that's just one way to drive traffic there.
Ah, I love that. That's such a great idea. And I love your fresh ideas, and what you're talking about are, unfortunately, we have, I think, in our industry gotten so stuck in, this is the way we've always done it. And we really have to, and especially when I'm working with my startups, that's one of the things I'm always working with them on. And I know you guys do as well, is we have to be thinking forward. We have to be thinking about, how do you take your practice from now to 10 years from now, versus I've been in practice for 15 years and I'm just trying to keep up until I'm ready to sell it to somebody else or whatnot. So I love that insight. That's just such great information. So as we start to wrap up here, I'm wondering if you have top 3 tips or suggestions on what practices should be doing, where you think things are going, where you think they should be focusing their efforts on?
Regarding marketing, remember, obviously, one of my biggest things is turn your patients into your marketeers.
Love.
Again, don't ask them to talk about you. Don't ask them to post about you. Set up situations where they'll do it naturally. So make it about them. Like an example is like the idea of a selfie wall. Like a lot of people like the idea of having a selfie wall in their office. And then what they end up putting up is a step and repeat. It just has their logo all over it. And that's not a selfie wall. And the patient is not going to look at that and go, I want to take a photo in front of that. No, that's you telling them to take a photo in front of that. And then you're probably in the photo too. Like the doctor's probably in the photo too. It's about you. Stop making it about you. And so if you want a true selfie wall, have something really unique and really cool where they look at that and they just impulsively want to do it. If you walk around LA, you'll see like a mural of like big angel wings. Mm-hmm. Nobody's making money on that. Nobody's logo is on that. People are just impulsively taking photos in front of it, or like a chewing gum wall. Again, people just naturally want to do that. You need to create something really unique where it's an opportunity for the patients to create their own content, post it to their audience, and then obviously they're going to tag the location. And so it's about them. It's not about you. Yes. So turning your patients into marketeers, that's probably one of the biggest ones. Another one, which is really tricky to explain because it's unique every single time, is creating memorable experiences, which can be a little tricky. And that's actually part of a topic that a theme that I just started on a couple of weeks ago, and it's been a theme in our company for 30 years, but trying to better explain how to plan a memorable experience is a theme that I'm really trying to articulate a little better through my lectures lately. But creating memorable experiences. How do you map out and plan what the experience is going to be for somebody? How do you put yourselves in their shoes and understand what they're going to be feeling, what they're going to be thinking? And not everybody has the imagination to be able to orchestrate that. Some people's imagination, there's a lot of different types of imaginations. And that's the theme that I've been hitting lately is some people's minds work more like a Word document. Like my best friend, Jordan, his mind works like a Word document. And so when we talk about things, he can't actually visualize in 3-dimensional space what I'm describing. But the advantage to him is that because his mind works like that, it's a little bit more simplified. He has the mind of an elephant, which is really annoying. He remembers everything. I can mention something from 5 years ago in a very specific moment, and he remembers like every word that was said during that conversation from years ago. And I can't do that at all. I'm terrible at that. My imagination is referred to as what's called a lucid imagination. And so with a lucid imagination, I can visualize things, I can manipulate things. Like when I was inventing the whiskey elements, I prototyped the whole thing and filed for the patents without ever actually physically doing it. And it wasn't until 4 months after the patents were filed that somebody said, can we play with it? Can we test it? And I was like, I haven't actually done it, like physically done it yet. And they were like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, that's just how my brain works. Like I can test it and manipulate it in my head. And then when we tested it, it turned out exactly how we planned. So everyone's imagination is a little different. And so if you have somebody in your office that has a lucid imagination and can genuinely put themselves in that place, you can better plan out a memorable experience for somebody. And if you can do that, then again, you can turn your patients into your marketeers. You can create that emotional connection. So that way they feel like they have a sense of ownership or just a really strong connection with the doctor and the practice. So creating those memorable experiences is probably like a hugely powerful one.
I love that. And I cannot wait I haven't had an opportunity to hear you speak on that yet. And I can't wait for you to continue to develop that out and really bring more legs to that, because I think you are right on. And that is a very difficult thing. And I think you're so right in identifying that all of us think differently and experiencing it. And unfortunately, a lot of times too, I think what you're also hitting on is the fact that a lot of great experiences are actually curated to be great experiences. It's very rare that you have an experience that is just organically happened. And if you can really think through that in your practices and what's the smell I want the patient to smell when they walk in? What's the temperature that's the ideal temperature? I don't know what, I'm just riffing here a little bit, but that is curating that experience so that when they walk away and I've got this really great neon sign on my wall and they can't help themselves but want to take a picture with it or whatever it is, I think when you dial it in, like that is the experience that I believe you're talking about, which is so different than just the show up and take a picture and and there it is.
Yeah.
This has been absolutely wonderful. And one of the things that I just appreciate is that you've taken some time to just really give us some good, up to date information and insight into marketing. And I know that a lot of the docs who are listening are like, oh, this is a keep this podcast on, keep this session on our favorite one. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you, if they want to find out more about marketing or consulting or any of that, what's the best way they could do that for you?
Yeah, they can go to .com. They can also find us on Instagram and Facebook. Just look up Peniche Associates or Peniche Team for Instagram. And then if you want to follow me, just look up Peniche Tony on Instagram. And if anybody's curious at all about the Pacific Northwest Survival Games, the competition and reality show, just look up PNW Survival Games on Instagram and start following us. It's still all very, very new, but it's growing pretty quick and it's pretty fun.
Yes. And for anybody who's listening, you heard it here first. This could be the next big reality show that's coming out. So this is exciting. I think you're a genius in that area and how you're pulling that all together. So as we finish up Hey Docs, one of the things I like to do with my guests is do a little speed round. Are you interested in the speed round challenge?
Should I be afraid?
No, this will definitely not scare you in comparison to some of the other things you do. All right. Describe your describe your style in one word.
Adventurous.
Oh, I like that one. What are you listening to or watching right now?
I'm obsessed with all the new AI tools and technology. My Instagram feed and my YouTube feed, I'm a big science nerd and technology nerd. And there's just so many cool tools out there right now. And so many that it's overwhelming. But I can't help it. I download like every app. Like I've got like over 100 apps on my phone and I'll play with all of them. And so over the next year and a half, I'm really hoping that the programs and the apps that are going to be around for generations to come, I'm hoping that those sort of identify themselves. Because right now there's just too many of them. But that's where all my attention is lately.
That's right. So if we've got a question about AI, you're the guy we're going to be reaching out to and be like, okay, I need this that does this. And you'll be like, here, go here.
Yep.
Love it.
Yep.
What do you do just for you?
I do a lot of mushroom hunting and cooking. So I like spending time out. I'm in the Pacific Northwest, and so we have like chanterelles and morels and lion's mane and all kinds of really delicious mushrooms that are free out in nature. So I just spend a lot of time out in the mountains finding them.
Yeah, I love watching your feeds because I'm always like, man, that looks so good. Or wow, he's out there with Bigfoot. There's like cool things happening. Hidden talent that you may have.
The hidden talent that I've been, like I just started talking about recently is the lucid imagination element. The funny story is like when I was like a teenager, like 13, 14, 15, I thought the way my mind worked was different than everyone else. But then I realized everybody thinks like that when they're 13, 14, 15. As you're becoming an individual and going through puberty and all that, like everybody thinks they're different. So I thought I was different. And then I'm in Portland where there's just like a lot of creative people. And I started to attract other people, similar people. And my friends, turns out, also have lucid imaginations. And so I was like in a bubble. My perspective was off. And so then I thought everybody thinks like this. Everybody can visualize and do the things that we can do in our minds. And so I thought, okay, I'm just normal actually. And then when I got into ortho and I started traveling around the country and meeting with people all over the place, basically getting out of my bubble, I realized, okay, wait, I am different again. So yeah, I was like, I'm different. I'm normal. No, I'm different. And then once I started digging a little deeper, then I started discovering, I'm like, oh man, there's so many different types of imaginations. And so the things that I can do in my head is a hidden talent. If I start thinking about being in a cold environment, it doesn't matter if it's hot outside or not. If I start thinking about being in a cold environment, I will literally get goosebumps. If I start thinking about being in a hot environment, I can get myself to start sweating and really experience things as though you're having a lucid dream, but I'm awake.
Yeah.
And I'm just playing around with things.
That is a great talent. I'm more like your friend who to think I can barely get a stick man to look like a stick man when I'm drawing, let alone think of, how that's going to work out in my head. So I love that. I think that's very creative and just a cool way to be able to think about life. So as we finish
actually a note on that really quick for the doctors out there. I did this test a couple weeks ago at the Treatment Coordinator Intensive in San Diego with 130 people. And we ended up with about 12 people that seemed to have lucid imaginations. It was basically like a 5-minute test that I take people through. There were about 12 that I think that had lucid imaginations, and then 2 that we what's called a pronounced lucid imagination out of 130. So it's not super common. But the thing is that those people were not part of the marketing team. They worked in the clinic. And so what's interesting is that you might have somebody in your office right now that has a superpower, that has this talent,
Yes.
and they don't realize that it's unique. They might actually think that everybody can do this, and they're not part of the marketing team. So if we can identify them and then pull them in and say, hey, we're trying to plan out a delivery or a new product or a memorable experience, we want you to be part of this conversation and help us map it out. And again, they might work in the clinic or they might work in finance or something. And so if you can identify them, there might be a superpower that you can take advantage of that's in your office already.
That's great. We'll leave it right there because that was just like the perfect pearl to finish this up. And that was wonderful. So Tony, thanks again for being on Hey Docs with me. I really appreciated it. And I know that everybody who's listening were like, this was a great episode. I got a lot out of it. So thanks.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Until next time. See ya.